Quit being the world's best kept secret. Your time is now.
Welcome to the Millionaire Woman Show, where we'll be discussing leadership, business, human potential, inspiring you to live rich from the inside out. Unlock your creativity, stretch out of your comfort zone, break through your barriers, take inspired action, and achieve epic results. Now here's your host, three-time best-selling author, speaker, and certified executive coach, Debra Kasowski.
One of the things that struck me in your bio that really hits me is when I think about rewriting the money narratives. All of us have this story about money when it comes into our hands, when we have it go out, whether or not we should invest in the next course or coaching program or things like that. But what I've come to realize that we all have these stories, but how is it that we can recognize the story and be able to shift from the story to actually rewrite it?
Ooh, that's so good. That's so good. Okay. Well, I feel like the natural opening with that is twofold. One, I'm going to talk about it from the perspective of where we are now. And number two, I'm going to, in a relatable way, sorry, I'm just getting more comfortable here. I told Debra I'm traveling. And so I'm just kind of like floating around right now. It's 5 weeks, 35 days of traveling, but we're making it all work. So really the starting point with that is it always comes down to, are you writing the story narrative based on your circumstance? Or are you writing it based on your commitment? Mm-hmm. And I always say that we live in a binary world, and we're either recreating the past or we're creating the future new. Now, where it comes into this complexity is we're an emotion being, and we have all these chemicals and all these emotion, everything's going around. And so it's like, when and where, how do we know where we are in that line? Well, one of the ways that we know it is the frequency that we feel that we're on. Now, everyone has an experience earlier in their life where, you know, I know for me, it was when I was in college, it was like, no one needed to tell me that I was going to be able to get a great job when I finished college, and my whole new life was going to start, and I was going to be able to buy the things I wanted and have more money and all this, right? That was ingrained in me. And then, you know, my degree's in microbiology, actually. So I was like, okay, you know, I'm going along. And then I'm studying and going to labs and everything. I didn't have to ask anybody what was going to happen when I graduated. I had a knowingness within me. If we were to embody, and like I said, everybody has that experience, whether you went to college or so, you have some kind of experience where it was a capsule. Right. And you had a knowingness about what you were going to get at the end. It was a believability. Mm-hmm. If we could all put ourselves in that capsule again, right now, here and there, and have that level of believability, have that, I don't need to go out and ask anybody, you know, if I'm doing this right or whatever, then every fiber of your being is rolling up to that. You know, professional athletes go for this, you know. And so you mentioned, how do you know the money comes in? How do you know? Are you supposed to save it? You're supposed to invest it? You're supposed to spend it on programs, all of that. A professional athlete who is so committed to their cause doesn't need to ask themselves that. Like, yes, I do need a coach, or I don't need the coach anymore, right?
Right.
We have become so accustomed to going outside of ourselves that I say, on a certain level, we don't even look for that knowingness anymore within ourselves. And that knowingness, kind of end this here, that knowingness is that frequency, that billionaire frequency that's in the room when you're around a bunch of wealthy people, because they don't need the outside world. And so that creation of that knowingness carries through to you in the presence and the opportunities and the calling in of more money. And it all kind of works as one giant circle.
Yeah. You know, it makes me think, like when we were talking before the show, even with this condition that my eyes have been affected, that I've talked about, you know, here and there on the show, it is about, I have that determination, that commitment that yes, it will heal. And the more you talk about that is really connecting to that inner knowing. And, hearing that you had a degree in biology, makes you more of that accidental entrepreneur. So I'd love to hear about how did you get into that knowing of yourself to go into what you're doing now as strategist?
Yeah. Well, I chose microbiology because this is going to probably sound just like the oddest thing ever. Well, first of all, I liked math and science. I was good at math and science.
Yeah.
Chose microbiology because at first, because I knew I needed something that would be challenging or else I would be bored and I wouldn't graduate from college. That's
Fair
the
enough.
honest. That's true.
Fair enough.
Then I decided I wanted to go to medical school. So then that happened, and I went through that, and I interned, and I did all the things, and then I ended up meeting someone very important in my life who was a mentor and is still influencing my life. And she was a doctor, and she's like, I don't know that I would totally do it over again. I just got to be real with you. And she said, what else do you like? And money and finance. Money is always just, I've always felt very connected. Money, I've always had money. I've always felt money. I could feel the market. I can, all these things, right?
Yeah.
So and then I ended up moving. So I went to Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. And so I to San Diego, and I thought, because I needed to get a real job. And I did get a real job, and I got a real job in finance, and I was programming the financial programs that they had. That's how I learned finance. And then I went back to school for finance and took the exams and the certifications and all of that, and moved up to the floor. I decided partway through, this was in my mid-30s, I decided, you know what, this is a great job. I mean, I was getting 6-figure bonuses. I was like, really, really doing well. Like, I don't want to be here forever. It's not that I'm not grateful, but I don't want to live inside the matrix with the numbers falling down the screen 12 hours a day, So that's when I started investing in stocks, and I invested in a lot of real estate in San Diego right after the financial crisis. Just really, what opportunity can I just, and build into this. I ended up leaving corporate. And then I didn't plan on starting. You're right with the accidental entrepreneur. I didn't plan on teaching money. In fact, someone asked me to help them with their money, and I said no. And we were at a child's birthday party. By the end of it, she'd convinced me, and I was like, okay. But one thing I did know is I was like, because I'd already gotten into the spirituality and yoga and all that. I remember sitting in front of her house in Del Mar, and I'm like, if I teach someone money, all I know is I have to do it my way. And I started it with a meditation. And she and her wife, 6 months later, bought a cabin in Big Bear. They sent me a letter and said, you changed my life. And I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And now here I am, like almost 7 years later, having built, I have an amazing team now, and so grateful, and get to talk to you and people like you about this. So I'm
And I love that you said you do it your way, because, people think that there's this cookie cutter approach to finances and building wealth, and that if they have one person's program, it might work for them, or they figure it's duplicatable. But to know that it needs to resonate with them, like the work that you do needs to resonate with them and align with who they are, that emotional connection. Everything that we do has that emotional connection for us to truly be that, having that commitment that you talked about earlier.
Absolutely. And I'm okay with the fact that I'm not for everyone. The people who are in the spiritual investor program, someone said yesterday, the only mistake I made in 2023 is not joining this earlier. So the people who are in there are connected, and they love it, and they're getting the value. But the people who this doesn't resonate with, like, just make sure you're getting the information somewhere, is what I tell people, because you're making the big money decisions now. You just don't realize it. Sometimes not making a decision is making a decision. And so that's